Now let's start work on building out the main content area of our home page. And all of this is going to be located within our app component. So up at the top of app, we're going to have a search bar where users can provide a keyword and search for a given track. Underneath the search bar, we'll have a track list displaying all of the tracks that users have created. And for each track, a user is going to be able to like the track, to see the track information, and if the users created or deleted the track. Now we're going to start work on building out the content area of our home page. So this is first going to consist of, at the top, a search bar where users can search for a given track. Then we'll have a track list area where all of the tracks that users have created will be listed out. And for each track, it'll be possible to first like the track. So there'll be a like button. You can see the track details, the title, description, and who created it. You can play the track, of course. And if a given user has created that particular track, then they can edit and delete it. And finally, we'll have a floating button here in the bottom right-hand corner that will open a modal, open a dialog, and allow authenticated users to create new tracks. So let's begin by heading to our app component where all of this is going to live. We can find app in our pages directory, and we'll start by importing all of the things that I just mentioned. We'll import first search tracks from /components, so one level up, components track, search tracks. Then we'll copy this line and also import our track list component, as well as create track, and now we can compose all of these components. First of all, let's remove our starting div. We'll replace it with a div with the class name classes.container. So we'll have search tracks up at the top. Then we'll have create track underneath. And then we'll have our track list. So initially, just to make sure we're importing everything correctly, let's save app.js and take a look in the browser at this. And we should see the text for all three of those components. We're going to get started by working on our track list first. We want to display some tracks, to have some tracks on the page before we work on creating new ones and searching for them. And we'll do the work of getting all of our tracks within our app component. So as we know, we need to query for our tracks to get them. So we'll import up at the top the query component from React Apollo. We'll also import GQL from Apollo Boost. Then we'll remove the track list temporarily, and in its place, create a set of query tags. Then we'll create our query, and we're going to call this the getTracks query. So we'll create the variable for that underneath our component. So I'm going to use the query keyword and give this query the name getTracks query in camel case. And then I'll write out the query itself. And we want to ask for a lot of things from this particular query. We want to ask for the ID of each of the tracks since we're going to be iterating over them. We need the title of each track, description, URL to play the track. We can get the number of likes by grabbing just the subfield on likes ID. Then we can get the posted by information, namely we want the ID as well as the username from posted by. Once we've specified all those subfields, we'll write our render props function. And once again, we can destructure data, loading, and error. We'll need our reusable loading and error components, so we'll import loading from /components/shared/loading, and track list. Within our track folder, we'll uncomment all of the imports, and we'll start by destructuring the tracks prop from the props object here. Then within the return, we're going to first use a list component, and within this list component we're going to iterate over our tracks array with tracks.map. So within map we get access to each track, and each track is going to be put in an expansion panel. This is going to give us a convenient toggleable panel that allows us to take a look at all of the track information very conveniently. And since we're iterating over this panel component, we need to add the key prop, which will be set to track.id. Most of the content is going to live in this expansion panel summary component that we'll add as a child. And we need to add an expand icon that users can click on and expand this panel to show more details, and that's going to have within it a component called the expand more icon. Then within the expansion panel summary we'll have a list item component with the class name classes.root. And first within this list item we want to include our like track component. So in fact there's going to be 4 components that are going to be contained within our track list component, and those will be the like track button, the update track button, the delete track button, as well as an audio player, the shared audio player component to play our tracks. So we'll take a pause to import all 4 of these components. We'll import audio player from our shared folder from /shared/audio player, then like track from /like track, import delete track from /delete track, and import update track from /update track. Right now we're not going to pass any information to these components, we're just going to display them with their default text. So within list item add like track, then next we'll add a list item text, and this is going to consist of just one tag. List item text has 2 main props, a primary prop for some primary text, and that's going to come from track.title. The secondary text is actually going to be a link, so we need to import the link component from React Router DOM, and this link is going to take us to the profile page of the users that posted a given track. So within secondary we'll add link. This is going to be a dynamic path where 2 will use template literals, and again we'll say /profile/ and then interpolate the user's ID, and that's going to come from track.postedby.id. And this link will also have the class name classes.link. Then within the link we want to display the username of who posted the track. That's going to come from track.postedby.username. And then to style this primary text, to style the title of the track, we can add some primary typography props and this prop accepts an object where the variant will be subheading and the color will be primary. And then finally, within our list item, we're going to have or display the audio player component. After the expansion panel summary, we're going to have an expansion panel details component. So this is what the user is going to see when they expand the expansion panel. And the class name for this component is classes.details. It'll contain a typography component within it. For the variant will be set to body1, and for the text we'll interpolate track.description. Then after the expansion panel details, we'll have expansion panel actions, which will contain our two buttons, which will be displayed if a user created a given track. And this will contain update track and delete track. So let's save app in track list, and we'll check things out in the browser. You may be seeing this error like I am, cannot read property ID of null. And this is because we're trying to get a couple of values, an ID and a username, for what's being stored as null. And you may be getting this error, cannot read property ID of null. And this is because, remember that we added our posted by field to each of our tracks after we had already added some tracks. So for those previous tracks that we added, posted by was turned into null. And in our secondary prop on list item text, we're attempting to get track.postedby.id. So what's causing this type error is attempting to get a property off of a null value posted by. So to fix this, first of all, we can comment out this secondary prop so we can see our UI. Then we'll open our DevTools, go to Apollo DevTools, mutation. You can see within mutate that we're raising an error if track.postedby is not equal to the current user. So we're currently signed into our app, and this is going to raise an error when we attempt to delete a track where posted by is set to null because it's not going to be equal to our current user. So to fix this, so to be able to delete those tracks, we're going to temporarily comment this out and save schema.py. And now we can start deleting each of the tracks with the appropriate ID where posted by is set to null. So we'll execute within graphical our delete track mutation, and we pass an integer to the track ID argument for the track we want to delete. So I'll delete the first track, and then when I hit the play button, that should be resolved successfully since the JSON Web Token is being put on our authorization header since we're signed in. And then I'll delete tracks with the IDs 2 and 3. And now if I query for tracks once again, I should only have tracks that have a non-null posted by value, so I can uncomment the conditional within schema.py, and I can uncomment the secondary prop on list item text. And now we can see in our UI there are no errors.